A conversation is coming for you, Gemini, and when it happens, nothing in your life will look quite the same afterward. By the end of this video, you will not only know it is coming, you will know exactly what to watch for, how to recognize the 11 clues that announce its arrival, and most importantly, how to be ready for it when it finally appears. Because this is not just any conversation. It is not the kind of conversation you can prepare for with careful words and practiced responses. It is the kind that reaches underneath the surface of your daily life and touches something fundamental, something about who you are, what you want, where you are going, and who you want beside you on that journey. Gemini, you are the sign most naturally gifted with the art of conversation. Language is your element. Ideas are your currency. Connection through communication is one of your deepest sources of meaning and joy. And yet, even for Gemini, perhaps especially for Gemini, there are certain conversations that feel almost too important to have. Too weighted with consequence. Too loaded with the possibility of change. This is one of those conversations. And it is on its way. The 11 clues we are about to explore will help you see it coming clearly enough to meet it with open eyes and an open heart. Do not miss the final clues. They are the most quietly powerful of all. Clue 1. You have been thinking about one particular person far more than usual, not in the obsessive or anxious way that comes from worry or regret, but in a more thoughtful, searching way. Their face arrives in your mind unbidden during quiet moments. Their voice echoes in your memory with a kind of presence that feels closer than memory usually manages. You find yourself wondering about them, not just in the surface sense of wondering how they are doing, but in a deeper sense of wondering what they actually think, what they actually feel, what the real truth of their experience is beneath the layer of ordinary conversation you have been sharing. This heightened mental focus on one person is the first clue that a significant conversation is approaching, because the mind, in its own way, is already preparing for what is coming. It is already rehearsing, already formulating, already sorting through all the things it has been wanting to say. The person you keep thinking about is the person with whom the important conversation will happen. And the thinking itself, the quiet, persistent, searching quality of it, is your inner world getting ready. Gemini, you are a natural thinker and a natural communicator. But the best conversations you have ever had, the ones that genuinely changed something, that left you different afterward, that opened something in your understanding of yourself or another person that could never quite close again, those conversations were not planned in advance. They arose from genuine presence, genuine feeling, genuine willingness to say and hear the truth. The thinking you are doing now is not preparation in the scripted sense. It is preparation in the deeper sense. A clearing of the inner space. A settling into what is genuinely true for you. So that when the moment arrives, you will be able to speak from something real rather than something rehearsed. Clue 2. Something in the pattern of your interactions with this person, or with several people in your life, has shifted recently, in a way that feels both subtle and significant. Conversations that used to stay comfortably at the surface are starting to press toward something deeper. A familiar rhythm has been interrupted, not dramatically, but noticeably. There are pauses that carry more weight. There are questions that hang in the air a little longer before being answered. There are moments when both of you seem to be on the edge of saying something more than what the conversation actually manages to hold. Something that stays just beneath the surface, present and felt but not yet spoken. Gemini, these pauses and pressures in your current conversations are the second clue. They are the announcement of something building, of a conversation that is too large for the ordinary channels you have been using, that is looking for the right moment and the right conditions to finally push through. This is how important conversations announce themselves before they arrive. Not with fanfare or dramatic setup, with quiet, persistent pressure. With a sense that the existing vocabulary of a relationship is no longer quite adequate for what needs to be expressed. With a feeling on both sides, because this pressure is never entirely one-sided, that something real and unspoken is waiting to be brought into the light. The second clue is the felt presence of the unspoken. And if you have been noticing it, in a particular conversation, a particular relationship, a particular space in your life that feels charged with unexpressed feeling, then the conversation is closer than you might think. If what you're hearing feels accurate, imagine what could happen if you applied this energy intentionally for 21 consecutive days. That's exactly what the 21-day program in the pinned comment is built for. Daily guidance, focused direction, and real momentum. If you're tired of staying in the same cycle, this is your structure. Clue 3. You have been experiencing a heightened sensitivity to honesty, both in others and in yourself. Things that previously you might have let slide, Small deceits or half-truths or polite fictions that smooth the surface of daily interaction have been landing differently lately. They are harder to ignore. They produce a subtle but real discomfort that lingers longer than it used to. At the same time, you have been feeling a stronger pull toward your own truthfulness, a growing impatience with the versions of your experience you edit or soften or omit when you talk to people, even people you care about. This heightened sensitivity to honesty is the third clue that an important conversation is approaching. Because a conversation that changes everything requires honesty as its foundation. Not brutal, weaponized honesty that says everything regardless of its impact, but genuine, caring, courageous honesty that says what is actually true, even when the truth is complex or vulnerable or difficult to put into words. Gemini, your gift for language is extraordinary. But language can also be used to obscure truth as effectively as it communicates it. To fill conversational space with words that sound real, while keeping the deepest truths carefully unexpressed. The sensitivity you are experiencing right now is your inner compass recalibrating toward genuine communication. It is life asking you to prepare for a conversation that will require the real thing. Not a performance, not a carefully managed version of yourself, but the actual truth of your actual experience, spoken in your actual voice, without the usual safety nets and escape routes. This is preparation, and you are responding to it already, even if you have not yet fully named what is happening. Clue 4. You have been having unusually vivid or meaningful experiences during your quiet moments, dreams that feel significant, or moments of daydreaming that seem to reach toward something important, or quiet insights that arise suddenly during ordinary activities and carry a weight and clarity that ordinary thoughts do not. These inner experiences are the fourth clue. They are the conversation rehearsing itself in the language of the inner world, working through themes and possibilities and emotional truths that will eventually need to find their way into actual words, actual presence, actual exchange with another human being. Gemini, your inner life is rich, often richer than the surface of your daily interactions would suggest. The quickness and sociability and adaptability that you present to the world are real, but they are not the entirety of what you are. Beneath the Gemini sparkle and wit and endless conversational facility is a depth, an inner world of feeling and meaning and genuine searching, that is every bit as real and every bit as important as the bright surface. The inner experiences you have been having in quiet moments are that depth trying to surface. They are the things you have not yet set finding their form in the privacy of your own awareness before they are ready to be shared. Pay attention to them. Do not dismiss them as irrelevant or abstract simply because they have not yet translated into practical language. They are the raw material of the conversation that is coming, and the more clearly you understand them in yourself, the more powerfully you will be able to express them when the moment arrives. Clue 5. The feeling of running out of time, not in a panicked way, not with the anxiety of crisis, but with a quiet and steady sense of urgency, has been growing in you around a particular person, a particular situation, or a particular truth that you have been carrying without speaking. This feeling of urgency is the fifth clue. It is not fabricated by your anxiety. It is not an irrational fear. It is genuine information, a real signal from a part of yourself that understands something your conscious mind has not yet fully articulated, that certain windows are real, that certain opportunities for honest connection have a natural duration, that the space in which an important conversation can happen most naturally and most effectively is not unlimited. Gemini, there is a specific way in which important things, left too long unspoken, change their nature. Not always for the worse. Sometimes the time taken allows for deeper clarity, for better words, for more genuine readiness. But sometimes what was possible to say in one season becomes much harder to say in the next, simply because the season has changed, because the people involved have moved in directions that create new distances, because the window was real and it has begun to close. The urgency you are feeling is not asking you to rush carelessly into a conversation you are not ready for. It is asking you to take the readiness seriously, to stop finding reasons to wait a little longer, to recognize that the conditions that exist right now, in yourself, in the other person, in the space between you, are genuinely favorable, and that the conversation when it happens will unfold more easily than you fear. Clue 6. Something in your body has been carrying tension around this unspoken truth. A particular tightness, a specific area of physical holding, that you may have noticed without fully connecting it to its emotional source. This is the sixth clue. The body does not lie about the things the mind is still debating. When something important needs to be said, When a truth has been suppressed or carefully managed for too long, the body registers it. It holds the unspoken thing in its tissues, as tension, as fatigue, as a recurring physical sensation that visits particularly during moments when you are thinking about the person or situation connected to the conversation. Gemini, you are so oriented toward the mind, toward thought, toward language, toward the quick and agile navigation of ideas, that you sometimes miss what your body is telling you until it gets quite insistent. But your body has been insistent lately. The tension is real. The physical message is clear. And what it is saying is this: something needs to move. Something needs to be released from the holding pattern it has been in. And the way it is released is through honest communication, through finding the words for what the body has been quietly storing, through the relief and the physical relaxation that comes, more often than people expect, from simply saying a true thing out loud to another person who receives it with genuine care. The conversation that is coming will not just change your relationship with another person. It will change your body's experience of itself. Because the truth, when it is finally spoken, creates a physical release that no other form of relief quite matches. Some people watch, others transform. If you want to be in the second group, the 21-day guide in the pinned comment gives you a clear step-by-step process aligned with your sign. This isn't about waiting, it's about moving. Clue 7. The things you genuinely value, your real priorities, the actual core of what matters most to you in this life, have been crystallizing with unusual clarity over recent weeks. And as they have crystallized, you have become increasingly aware of where the important conversation falls within that hierarchy of values. Whether it is a conversation about love, about direction, about a decision that will shape the next chapter of your life, about something you need to say in order to be truly honest with yourself and with someone else, whatever its specific content, you can feel with increasing certainty that it matters. That it is not peripheral or optional. That it touches something genuinely central to who you are and what you are building with your one particular life. This clarity of values is the 7th clue. Because important conversations do not happen in a vacuum, they happen in the context of what we care about most. And when our sense of what we truly care about sharpens, it creates a natural pressure toward honest expression. It becomes harder to go on not saying the thing that is directly related to your deepest values. It becomes clearer with each passing day that the conversation is not a risk to be avoided but a necessity to be honored. Gemini, your values are solid. They are real. Trust them in this. Trust the clarity that is telling you this conversation matters. Because that clarity is not manufactured by anxiety or drama. It is the steady voice of your own authentic self, speaking from the center of what you know to be true. Clue 8. You have been finding yourself in conversations with people who, without knowing it, are speaking directly to the themes and questions that your important conversation is circling. A chance remark from a friend touches exactly the issue you have been privately working through. A story someone tells resonates with your own unspoken situation in a way that feels anything but random. Information arrives, casually, from unexpected directions, that illuminates exactly the dimension of your situation that has felt most murky or most difficult to navigate. This experience of life seeming to send relevant information through unexpected channels is the 8th clue that your important conversation is near. Because when something significant is approaching, the universe has a way of preparing you for it through exactly this kind of indirect communication. Relevant themes begin appearing around you. Clarity arrives from sideways rather than straight on. Other people's words become mirrors for your own inner process, helping you understand what you are feeling and needing in ways that your direct introspection was struggling to achieve. Gemini, trust these indirect messages. They are not coincidences to be dismissed. They are part of the preparation, part of the way life readies you for what is coming by giving you pieces of understanding through multiple channels simultaneously. By the time the actual conversation arrives, you will have gathered more clarity than you currently realize. And that gathered clarity will make you far more capable of navigating the conversation well than you would be if it arrived right now. Clue 9. Something has changed in how you feel in the presence of the person this conversation is with, or in the space connected to the situation around which the conversation will turn. There is a different quality in the air between you, a charge or a weight or a heightened awareness that was not there before, or not at this intensity. You may find yourself more aware of them in a room, more attuned to their moods, their expressions, the small signals they send without necessarily meaning to send them, more affected by their presence, moved by it in some way that goes beyond the ordinary. This heightened attunement is the ninth clue. Your sensitivity to this person or situation has increased because something important is at stake between you, and your whole self, in its wisdom, is turning its full attention to the field of that importance. The heightened attunement is not anxiety. It is not obsession. It is awareness, the particular quality of awareness that arises when something genuinely significant is in motion. Your inner self knows what is coming, and it is making sure you are paying close enough attention to meet it well. Clue 10. Words that you have kept inside, that you have thought but not spoken, that you have written in your mind but not yet committed to actual sound or actual language, have been pushing toward the surface with more insistence than usual. You have caught yourself almost saying them, getting to the edge of them and then pulling back. Almost sending the message and then deleting it. Almost bringing it up and then finding a reason not to. This experience of almost speaking is the 10th clue. The conversation is not being held back because you do not know what to say. You know exactly what to say. It is being held back by the last remaining layer of protection, the final hesitation of a self that is not quite sure yet whether it is safe to be this honest, this open, this genuinely present with another person. And the 10th clue is that this final hesitation is very close to giving way. Clue 11. You feel ready. Not perfectly ready. Not in the imagined state of total confidence and zero fear that you might have pictured when you thought about this conversation in the abstract. But genuinely ready, in the real and imperfect and deeply human sense of having done the inner work, having achieved enough clarity, having arrived at enough honest self-knowledge to walk into this conversation as your actual self rather than a carefully managed version of it. This is the 11th and final clue, and it is the most important one of all. Because the conversation that changes everything does not wait for perfect readiness. It arrives precisely when the real kind of readiness is present, when you know enough and feel enough and care enough to show up fully for what is required. Gemini, the conversation is coming. It may arrive sooner than you currently expect. It may arrive in a form somewhat different from what you have been imagining. It may take you somewhere you did not expect to go. Somewhere better, somewhere more honest, somewhere more genuinely alive than where you have been standing while you waited for exactly the right moment. You are ready. The 11 clues have confirmed it. And what is waiting on the other side of this conversation is worth every bit of the courage it will take to begin it. You have two options after this video. Close it and hope things shift. Or decide that the next 21 days will be different. If you choose the second, the structured 21-day transformation aligned with your sign is waiting in the pinned comment. The energy is already moving, the only question is whether you are. The conversation is not something that is happening to you, Gemini. It is something you are being called toward, by your own growth, your own readiness, your own deep and genuine longing for the kind of honest connection and real change that only true communication can bring. The 11 clues have been guiding you here. And here is exactly where you are ready to be.